Hello guys, today we're going to be doing a video about the mechanics of Silver Lions, how it's spent and how it's earned, and everything else really. We're going to cover the actual mechanics here, so you do need a little bit of prior understanding. The video linked above now on research points will have a very similar theme, or if you already know a bit, you can just ignore that and we'll get straight into the video. Before we start though, we're also doing a giveaway for the members of the in-game squadron at the moment. And the prize will be any premium pack of your choice, or 15k golden eagles, or 1 year of premium time, or some mixture of the two. There will be more information about that in my Discord, which is linked below, or at the end of the video. So first, modifiers. What actually affects SL gain? Let's make it super simple and easy to understand. If we look at our friend from the research video, the Sherman Composito, we can actually see the formula for SL underneath the formula for research points. Again, we will also take the Sherman 5 for comparison because it's basically exactly the same as the Composito but not a premium. The first grey number right at the start, 0.9, is the base modifier. This affects everything else that comes after it, and each vehicle has their own unique base modifier here. Next, we have a yellow 2.0, which is the premium vehicle modifier, and is 2.0 for all premium vehicles. We'll come back to this later. Then, inside the brackets, we have 100%. This is a standard for all vehicles, so that if you have no other modifiers, you just get 100% of the base modifier. And yes, all vehicles have 100% exactly the same. After that, the golden diamond shows the premium account modifier, that's 50%. And lastly, in blue, we have a 10% booster because I activated a 10% SL booster. So the main difference here between research and SL modifiers is that premium vehicle multiplier of 2.0 is outside the brackets, which effectively makes it a base multiplier, which means everything else gets a 2x to it. Your boosters, 2 times. Your premium account bonus, 2 times. Even the base 100% of the vehicle, 2 times. So that 10% booster that you just activated, well, the premium vehicle, that makes it 20%. 500% booster, yeah, it just became 1,000. This is not how research boosters work, which is, as explained in my RP video. This means that ideally you should always be using SL boosters with premium vehicles because it makes a huge difference. Premium account, on the other hand, or premium time, however you want to call it, that actually has no impact on SL boosters at all because they're inside the brackets, which means they're just added together. Obviously, you always get the SL from the premium account on top anyway, so it is always better to have both. But premium vehicles have a huge impact, literally double. This means if you're SL farming, you should always do it with a premium vehicle wherever possible. Which ones you should exactly use will be covered in a later section of the video. Next, I'm going to cover some strategies that utilize orders and wagers. There are some seriously strong and very easy methods here, but you can use the chapters below to skip if you either already know or this isn't really your style. Now, for SL making, I'm only really going to cover one order, and that's anti-mech. So how does it work? Well, when you activate the order, a 5-minute timer starts. Whichever player in the game, so literally anybody, not just you, whoever destroys the most ground targets in those 5 minutes will get a 3 times SL modifier for all of the SL earned in those 5 minutes that the order was active. Now this is a little bit niche, but if you're a strike aircraft enjoyer, especially like the A-10 or the Su-25, you can pop this order just before you start strafing a bunch of ground targets in air RB and get a whole bunch of SL. Now, this isn't my personal cup of tea, and I don't even have any anti-mech orders to actually show you, but I have done it in the past, and I know people that do it regularly, and this does work fairly well. It also stacks with all those premium bonuses that I was mentioning earlier as well. Just make sure if you're going to use this strategy that you pop the order just before you go in to attack your ground targets, and that there are no enemies around to shoot you down at the same time. You want to make sure that it is you at the top of the scoreboard for ground targets at the end of those 5 minutes. If you're not, you won't get the SL. And as for wagers, there are actually 2 wagers that everybody should always be using. It's literally free SL. About the mechanics a little bit, to activate a wager, you just pay a small fee, it's a wager. You wager as a bet that you can do something a certain number of times. I mean, the maximum amount is 10k, and the amount that you win scales on the amount that you put in, and 10k is such a small amount, you should always put in the 10k. These win bonuses, whatever, they're not affected by any modifiers, so even if you're free to play and you don't have any premium account, premium vehicles, nothing, you will get the same amount as somebody that has all of those things. So it's very egalitarian in that way. The first one is the Battle Victory Wager. You just need to win battles. You can lose up to 3, as you can see it says, battles in which a new stage was not achieved, 3. This just means you can play 3 battles while failing the conditions. And yeah, you'll get bad teams, bad games, these things always happen, but this should always be at least some free SL. Most people are usually going to go into the game with the intent to, destroy vehicles and win because they get more RP and SL. And even if you get bad teams, even if you only win, 3 games and you only get 3, that's still 50k SL for free every time you pop it, right? And if you win more games, there's a lot of potential. So definitely always pop this one. The other strong wager is the Destroy 5 Units wager for ground battles. You don't have to do it in ground battles, but it's the best mode to do it in. In realistic and simulator battles, you actually get a 2 times modifier to your kill count, so you only need 3 to fulfill this wager. And so if you have like a full lineup of spaded tanks and you go into this, even a relatively bad player should be able to pick up the 100k SL from this wager. You can also fail 3 times before the wager is lost, so you only need to get 3 kills in half of your battles to meet this criteria. And, especially for newer players, 100k is quite a decent chunk, so make sure that you're always having a look at these. There are additional wagers and orders that you can use that I haven't mentioned here because obviously there are a few of them. But those are either RNG based or, you just need to be lucky or be in the right place at the right time and things like this. The ones I've mentioned here should be at least fairly reliable, provided that you actually follow the criteria. So, moving on now to discussing premium vehicles and premium account. What should you buy? I'll say straight up right now that if you're grinding through a tech tree and research points are your main focus, premium time is more important. It affects premium and non-premium vehicles in the same way by the same amount, so it gives you flexibility, right? Maybe you don't want to just play one vehicle for 500 games in a row while you're grinding out a tech tree. Maybe you've researched an interesting tank or a unique plane and you want to play them for a bit. If you're using premium time or premium account, swapping over to those tech tree vehicles, you're not going to have as much RP because of the modifier from the vehicle, but the RP modifier from the premium time affects the tech tree vehicle the same amount as it does the premium, so you're not really losing anything. But for Silver Lions, premium vehicles are more important because of the 2 times modifier and how it doubles everything else on the vehicle. Whether that's boosters, premium time, whatever. It doubles everything. Obviously, both is always going to be best because it also doubles the premium account bonus. But if you can only afford one, go with a decent vehicle, right? So then you can ask, well, what vehicles are decent? I mean, I can show you this footage in the background of me clapping cheeks and getting 9 kills with the Brumbear and over 100k SL with no booster on and say, yeah, look at this, it's amazing, you should buy this tank. Does that mean it's a good tank? Well, I don't know. Can you use a low velocity cannon? Or do you have experience using low velocity cannons? Do you have experience playing tank destroyers that don't have a turret? I mean, I can pull up the stats on a third-party website like StatShark and show you it has a 1.23 KD or like a 1.2 KD. So that's good, right? It's above 1, that means it's a good tank. Well, if we look at the Panzer IV-J and it's almost identical premium, there is a huge difference in performance on tanks that are basically the same. 0.8 versus 1.3 KD. It's literally night and day. The point I'm trying to make here is that you need to find a premium that fits you as a player. Reviews can help. You could watch a video review like, for example, I made on the Leopard 2, right? And you could base your opinion on that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to buy a premium specifically for SL grinding, not for just grinding out a tree, but for SL specifically, you want a fun go-to vehicle that you can play hundreds of games in, maybe not consecutively because you'll play it when you need SL, but you also need to be good at this vehicle. Which is why I said earlier when I was comparing the Brumbear, are you good with tank destroyers? Are you good with low velocity cannons? If it's the Panzer IV-J, it has a slow turret. If it's the Sherman, it has a short stabilizer. Do you know how to abuse that mechanic to get you more kills? The only way to know for sure is to grind and play the tech tree counterpart of the vehicle that you're looking at. And I know this is a really boring answer, like, oh, okay, great. I have to spend another 500 hours grinding. Well, yes and no, right? If your vehicle doesn't have a direct equivalent or it's in a different tech tree that you haven't researched yet, why don't you just try playing a vehicle that's got similar characteristics, right? For example, the Brumbear has quite a low velocity cannon, so that's always going to be the sticking point. I've mentioned it like 6 times already, I guess you get the point, right? But what do I play in Germany that's like that? Well, really, I would recommend that you get the Sherman 105 in rank 2 of France, which is pretty quick to grind out. It shouldn't take more than an hour or two. And it also has a low velocity cannon with similar characteristics, right? So you can kind of get a feel for it. And especially for these like lower tier vehicles that are good SL grinders, you can play them a little bit more chill, right? At top tier, like let's say, oh, I've bought the clickbait to grind out, USA's tanks. Should I farm SL in the clickbait? At the end of the day, probably not. It has a bigger modifier, sure, but are you really going to be able to perform so much better in it than you would with a lower tier vehicle? To the point where it's worth it, right? Because you've got to bear in mind, at top tier, people are a lot better at the game and tend to be a lot sweatier as well. You need to get, say, 2 kills in a rank 3 premium to compensate, like the T14, right? But those 2 kills are probably going to be easier to get than the 1 kill in the clickbait. And speaking of the T14, I will put up a list of vehicles on the screen now of premiums that I can recommend. These are all vehicles that I either personally own or vehicles where I own the tech tree version that's almost identical. So I can tell you from personal experience, each one of these is relatively cheap compared to most premiums and will be a fairly strong all-round vehicle. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with them, but your mileage will vary depending on what you personally find fun. Really, when I'm saying this stuff, the question you have to ask yourself is, okay, well, I can buy a high tier premium, but will you be able to do well enough in it to make it worth the time of playing it instead of something that's a lower tier that you can play a lot better and get a lot more kills in? And lastly, I'll just offer you a couple of pieces of advice for in-game strategies. Firstly, if you're in a jet that can take napalm without significantly compromising your combat capability, it's a lot of free SL. The F4S is a good example of this. I say this, this is like the 5th time I've mentioned it in a video, but you can take 2 napalms on an F4S without sacrificing any missiles and go get a free base. Hey, you might not get there first, but you haven't lost any missiles. You can just jettison them and oh well, right? Fighter purists do get annoyed by this, but SL is SL, right? Secondly, in ground, focus on capture points. Always get the cap at the start of the game and play the objective. It sounds kind of obvious, but capping points gives you a lot of RP and SL, especially when over time, if you can get 2 or 3 caps in a game, that seriously adds up. Thirdly, make sure you're using backups on your premiums, especially if you've used boosters. I mean, at the end of the day, this gives you another spawn in your golden vehicle, and it'll make a big difference in the long run. I mean, think about it this way, even if you're not using a booster, right, by spawning in immediately again, you're straight back into the fight instead of leaving and re-queuing again, which takes extra time. Even if you get in fast and it's, 30 seconds or a minute, 10 games, that's an extra 10 minutes. That's a whole extra game of time that you've just lost for nothing, right? If you don't have any universal backups, you should use the War Bond shop to buy more. In fact, this should... Other than vehicles, this should be the primary thing that you spend your war bonds on. And, well, if you want more info on the Battle Pass challenges and how to get easy war bonds, that's actually going to be my next video. So subscribe and click that bell, and you'll get a notification when that video comes out. I'll be letting you guys know all the easiest ways to complete the challenges in the current Battle Pass season. And if it's already been more than 4 days since this video came out, well, that video is out too, so you can go check that out straight away. As for the giveaway, it is going to be for members of my in-game squadron, Lumps. You can find it pretty easy, just in the squadron search, just search for Lumps. Other than that, the winner will be announced in my Discord, so you kind of need to be in there to know you've won. And the only other criteria is just to be subscribed onto my YouTube channel as well. So, thank you for coming, guys, and I will see you in the next video.